I enjoyed a career in international environmental policy, first in Environment Canada, and then for over 20 years in the United Nations Climate Change Secretariat. This entailed running the negotiations that led to the Kyoto Protocol in the 1990s, up to being in a leadership position to help deliver the Paris Climate Change Conference in 2015 that resulted in the Paris Agreement. One of the greatest lessons that I take from this experience is the importance of leaders, of individuals who step into the role of being a leader, of making change, people who struggle against inertia and barriers, which are the great frustration, I think, of most of us. And I don't mean only presidents, prime ministers, or ministers who led the international negotiations or who were important in domestic climate change policy, but leaders at all levels. It's these visionary, dedicated, and action-oriented people, real leaders at all levels, are what makes a difference. The world's at a critical point right now. The climate emergency has been building for several years. The next 10 years are absolutely critical, or it's going to be too late. Rather than despair about this rather harsh conclusion, I think we need to see this as a fantastic leadership opportunity. It's an opportunity for those who want to make a difference and to change the world, and for those people to step up to bat. Humanity will miss the opportunity to define a new future for itself, a future that's environmentally sustainable at its core, but one that's also equitable, more just, and more humane. And all these elements are interconnected. The scale of that kind of challenge demands an unprecedented investment in leadership development. We need all hands on deck, and we need that urgently. It really pains me to say this, but the fact that global greenhouse gas emissions and greenhouse gas emissions in most countries, the fact that they're still rising almost 30 years after the Climate Change Convention was signed in 1992 and 5 years after the Paris Agreement was adopted, this is an appalling indictment of the world's political and economic leaders. While it's true that promising leaders have emerged in recent years, the harsh reality is that on the whole, we have a long, long way to go before we have the breadth and depth of leadership that's needed to deal with the challenge of climate change. The need is real, not only in national governments, but also at provincial level, at local level, in business and industry, at community level, in planning, in academia, in science. In fact, it's often those who are closest to the ground who can make the biggest difference. Well, it's true that we have more and more leaders in politics, in business, in communities who are advocating for goals and principles, but for me, where the real gap exists is in leaders who can turn these goals and principles into real action. We need leaders who can generate innovative ideas and who can make them happen, who can get people to work together, who can be problem solvers, who can build consensus. And these leaders are needed in every sector, in communities, in public and private institutions, in the trenches of climate action, if you like. Women and men of action who can get things done and who can change the world one step at a time. From what I understand, the Rural Roads program is a groundbreaking one of the first of its kind in Canada. And I think that means that people who want to get ahead in being part of the climate action momentum should think about joining this groundbreaking initiative so that they can be upfront and really get ahead of the game. As I said earlier, we have a very limited period of time in which to make a difference, 10 years. uh, so that one has to be really quick to get into this to make that kind of difference. It really does give someone a feeling of immense personal satisfaction to know that you have actually made a difference to improving the situation in the world. Now, whether that's in a big way or in a small community, these sorts of things give meaning to life. And I can only say to people who feel that they want to do this, go for it. It's worth it. You'll appreciate it before too long.